Good. Well, if you follow me, you'll see that I have a full service marketing company as far as mitigation banks and really utilizing digital media as a way of transferring information and communication and creating content. And it's a shift in thinking because a lot of people don't do pay-per-click or banner ads or YouTube. Lots of video explaining, adding content, trying to explain, the process, and because mitigation banking is not well known, and so creating education and content online that will be there forever and making sure that it's indexed so that when people do Google searches, they can either find your blog that's maybe been written with keywords or video explaining. And I encourage you guys all to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can see what I'm referring to. Also social media, it's some think highly of it, some don't. There's many platforms, of course. I think that LinkedIn is incredibly valuable. Facebook, I do it as well. I don't know if it's how much it provides, but I do get a lot of landowners that have questions, and so that's always great as well. And then Twitter, I like because it's actually indexed very well on search engines. So if I put National Mitigation Banking Conference, you might see my post on Twitter. And so things like that, just creating content, communication, email marketing is so important, and making sure you have an easy to read template. And our jobs really is just to make the environmental consultant's job easier. And so, understanding all the different elements when they do find you, of course, is key as well and priceless. So I'm just going to go through a couple of these things. So I went through this exercise where for about a year, anytime that I thought of an interesting way of selling credits or creating demand or facilitating the administrative process, I wrote down, some tips. And so I'm going to share a couple of them with you, and then I'm going to see if you guys have any questions. Okay? So the way that I operate is every single detail. So I started this industry 19 years ago. I was 21 years old, and so I started as an intern. And so I've been hands-on ever since. And so I worked my way up from intern to marketing director to vice president to president, and now I own my own company after 7 years. And I don't have employees. And so I do all of it. You know what I mean? So I think I'm pretty rare because most people have a lot of people and everybody has a different hat. Well, I wear all the hats. So if there's a problem in the process, I know it, So basically just a little bit of tips from me is when you are taking mitigation credit leads, you want to track everything. And I was just speaking with Terry, who has a platform called Microsoft Dynamics 365. And I'm currently in the process of upgrading to HubSpot. And supposedly it's going to be a game changer. Because currently I'm using Excel for all my things. So we'll see how that works. But whatever platform you are using, track everything. Anytime that you do anything, so that when a project comes up and you're working on 100 projects at a time and it says Mount Dora storage, Hammock Lake Mitigation Bank, you can go to that and see what was the last thing that was done, what am I pending, and so that everyone's on track, especially if you have a lot of people working on the same project.
So you mean tracking like when you're taking a sales call, when you're
everything. 5923 sent W9 per request. Just everything.
So any interaction with the customer.
Any interaction. And then I provide that to my mitigation banker. So I have closed sales for the year transferred, and then I have any pending reservations first, and then I have pending reservations, and then I have leads. And the pending reservations mean that I'm awaiting a signed agreement. Reservations mean I have a signed agreement and deposit. So I track everything that way, and so we'll see how that works when we go over to HubSpot. I'll let you guys know about that next year. And then, of course, the credit ledger. Making sure that that's kept up to date constantly, and it's not, put on the back burner. because things, if you make one mistake, if one project is left off, and 5 years later we're selling the bank, there can be issues. So you have to be super meticulous on the ledger. I have found that the actual person that is doing the impacts is not my main customer. It's the environmental consultants. They're the ones that I'm marketing to. There's 5,000 different plus developers in Florida. Like, I can't imaginably have a relationship with all of them. And I can't make someone impact a wetland. You know what I mean? So it's pretty rare, and it's like a diamond in the rough how to figure out who needs these mitigation credits. It's the environmental consultants. Their client is the developer. They have to minimize their impacts, and if they can't, what do? They come to a mitigation banker or rep, and you want to be the person that they call first.
How do you build those relationships? What are you doing?
Be quick, be efficient, make their job easy, don't make mistakes.
So when you've worked with them, do good.
Right, no typos. I don't have to wait a week to get the W-9. You know what I mean? Things like that. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Update the ledger,
And other things.
pick up the phone.
Always answer. Yeah. And so those are the main things. You're not doing other things. You're not like scheduling lunches. You're not like, you're just mainly engaging with them well when they engage.
Absolutely. And of course, there's no problem with a free lunch. But the main thing is being responsive, being proactive. In my mind, if an environmental consultant or even an applicant messages me and asks me for something, at that point I feel like I've dropped the ball. I want to give it to you before you ask me for something. You know what I mean? And so there's a process. I get the deposit. I have to send the reservation. So if you don't tell me you got the deposit, this banker, I don't know to send this reservation letter. And so you have to constantly be in communication with all parties, because when those funds and that agreement comes, that's going to activate a reservation letter. When you get the final balance in the permit, that's going to activate a transfer. And so you have to make sure that every single thing is done efficiently so you don't get behind. And the environmental consultant's like, hey, I asked you for agreement 3 weeks ago. And you're like, oh yeah, it's coming. So, being responsive is so important. And in this industry, like, Lynn said, sometimes it makes it easy for us because these private landowners are not responsive. Like, I have competitors that won't even sell a credit under 1 credit. And my bread and butter is 0.04, 0.3. I do those all day long, but they don't even want to talk to you. And so, getting them to return your call or update the ledger, they're hard to work with. And so facilitating someone like, myself, or of course Westervelt does it internally. Lynn does sales and marketing down in Southwest Florida. And I'm sure you guys, are you doing it internal or externally? Externally, marketing your credits. You're in Atlanta, Georgia. Are you utilizing who? Barn Group? So Barn Group does the marketing for your bank. Wonderful. I didn't realize they offered that service. That's great. Okay. I need to talk with them because they're pretty new to the industry, but they sure have made a statement. So I want to look into them. But Wes.
They're kind of why we're here. That's who kind of got us.
Oh, wonderful. Okay.
Told us about this opportunity. And
yes.
We've been
raising capital for them.
Perfect. Wonderful. Okay. Well, Westervelt is a phenomenal organization that started back in the 90s and 2006, and they're pretty much a lot of 2006. No.
Ecological services.
Yeah, the Westfall Company's been around.
Okay.
Since the 1800s.
Yeah.
Okay. So in 2006, got it. Okay, and that's where they Craig Dennis off and all the greats come.
Beyond,
Yes,
Sutter.
yes. Yes, and so I used to work really closely with them. I used to be the administrator of the National Association, and so I worked closely with them because they were all on the board and great people. But anyways, any questions? No?
So you haven't mentioned anything about like materials, like brochures, flyers,
Right.
that kind of thing.
Right.
Is that something that you're moving away from? Or are you mostly online now? What do you-
Personally, I've shifted from print to digital. I've gotten a better bang for my buck, and a lot is about data capture. You know what I mean? And so if you visit my website, I have like a little, I don't know who it is, but it's like per IP address or something. Now it's got a tracker, and so now you're gonna get my banner ads. You're gonna see me, when you're reading ESPN on YouTube, and you're gonna be like, geez, how is she doing that? She's spending a lot of money. But no, I'm only targeting the people that have been to my website, and that's, I get about probably 150 clicks, visitors a day. But that's a whole new, a game, a whole new prospect that I have now in my data collection, and I'm targeting them. And I can do that over, 3 months, a year, whatever you want to put the settings to.
How do you figure out how to do that? Watch the people who come to your website and then advertise to them elsewhere.
It's called Rebanner Ads. It's some kind of platform. Yeah, and so you'll see it now that I've mentioned it. But when you're reading articles, you'll see advertisement, and so you can hyper focus, and you can even put in the emails of your, already your database. But constantly updating your database is so important, and you should be adding as many as possible. Anytime anybody contacts you, put them in the database, for that email communication. And
To send your emails to, like your marketing.
exactly, yes. Any
I've
other?
got more questions if nobody else.
Do it.
So you're moving from Excel to HubSpot.
Mm-hmm.
What problems have you had with Excel that you prefer? Like, what are you looking for? Why do you need?
I'm not looking for it. I'm being pushed to advance to a new platform,
I see.
and we're going to actually speak about it next week and see how. Okay. So.
What is good about it? Like, I'm working with Excel, so.
Okay.
The intricate detail is, it's so easy to find everything you need when you need it. It's right there in front of you.
It's just probably a little more organized. It's just a different type of organization.
Right. When in Excel, I have to look down my list of when did that person contact me.
Right. And I have each bank as a tab, so I got 30 tabs.
As soon as that person calls or you think of that person, you go to HubSpot, type up their name. Right there, you got your phone calls. You can go back and look at every conversation you've ever logged. You can log phone calls, you can log emails, you can log. They have different.
You can just have your notes in there, and then every time you update it, there's also a tab where you can actually organize it by what's the most recently contacted people, or or the opposite, who's been the longest that I've contacted.
And when you work with HubSpot, of course we work with them in a large capacity, but they'll kind of come in and set it up to your needs.
Right.
Like
what I want is
Very
2 weeks
customized.
before the money's due, I want it to generate an invoice. Because for me to have to remember to do that 2 weeks before in 90 days, it's a lot. And so it would do that?
As simple as you want it,
so, yeah.
or as intricate as
It's very customizable.
Okay.
you can set it up where you can make your phone calls out of HubSpot, and they'll record them. They record every conversation we have out of HubSpot. I can send emails out of HubSpot. It'll record the email, put it in the email notes. The record. It's.
Sounds pretty amazing.
Yeah. If you want to talk to my guy, I can put you in touch with him.
Well, we're a very small company. Price-wise, is it quite expensive? Like, there's only a few of us.
No. You would know better than I.
Our system's probably pretty expensive because the size of it.
Custom.
Is it based on users, maybe?
It's going to be basic. But you're not, with you being a small company, we probably have 4,000 to 5,000 active clients,
Right.
and that's not even including just contacts. As soon as we make a contact with somebody, I'll go to my laptop and I'll enter it into HubSpot. So we probably have thousands.
Yeah.
You only may have 200. So
Yeah.
it's probably be a lot more reasonable price than.
I'll look into it. It sounds pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds way better than Excel.
We'll see.
That's the thing with Excel. When you go to Excel and you think of somebody, even if you try your best to keep them in alphabetical order or whatever, you still have to go through and find them. With the HubSpot or another that type of search engine. You just go to it, type it in, and it pulls up everything you need to know about it.
That's cool. Cool.
I mean, like, I don't think, not on the mitigation side of things, we couldn't function without it. I mean, it's just,
That's great to hear.
But it's similar, you know, it's something that it definitely takes a little bit of getting used to.
Of course.
A week or two, of course. At
Right,
least. If you guys have been working out of Excel for a while, it'll definitely be a little bit of an adjustment. But
right.
I think in time, it's a much more
Worth
efficient
it.
platform.
but I mean, there's other platforms as well. I mean, you can check into Salesforce. Salesforce is, I